Every industry has systems that don't just help people. They quietly decide who gets access and who doesn't. Real estate is no different. The Gatekeeper Awareness Framework is a way to understand how people move from simply accepting things as they are to actually seeing their options and acting on them. It's inspired by the Cooper Color Code, but applied to how control shows up in real estate. This isn't about tearing anything down. It's about noticing what's been invisible so people can make choices on purpose, not by default. I am Steve Colano, and this is Confidential Remarks. Most gatekeeping in real estate isn't obvious. It doesn't look like locked doors. It shows up in procedures, in standard fees, in rules that feel mandatory because they're never questioned. The real power of this system is that it's hard to see. If you don't realize you're being guided or limited, you don't push back. And often, the people enforcing these rules aren't bad actors. They're operating inside a system that also restricts them. Awareness doesn't happen all at once. It unfolds in stages. In white, people aren't aware, and they're comfortable that way. Yellow is where curiosity kicks in and questions start forming. Orange is when the system finally makes sense. And red is where people start building something new. This journey isn't about outrage or rebellion. It's about paying attention and realizing that attention alone changes things. Condition white is the default. Most people trust the brokerage, trust the MLS, and assume what they're being told is simply how it works. Alternatives don't feel real because they're never presented as real options. This state feels stable, but it isn't. Once someone sees even a small crack in the logic, the whole structure starts to wobble. That's usually when you hear, "That's just how real estate works," which is often a way to stop the conversation before it gets uncomfortable. Yellow starts with friction. Maybe it's a fee that doesn't quite add up, or a rule that feels arbitrary. Instead of automatically complying, people get curious. They start asking why they have to pay this fee, why they can't list a certain way, or why every alternative is described as dangerous. These aren't extreme questions, they're reasonable ones. And once they surface, it's very hard to ignore them. In orange, things come into focus. People stop looking only at outcomes and start understanding how the system actually works. They compare models based on what fits them, not what they're warned against. They learn the difference between what's legally required and what's just tradition. They start questioning things like percentage-based fees and wondering why simpler options aren't more common. This is the moment where change becomes intentional, not accidental. Red is where awareness turns into creation. New platforms emerge that prioritize, attach clarity and real choice. Consumers opt out of traditional paths and choose services that align with their needs. Public challenges start to appear: lawsuits, investigations, policy debates. This stage isn't about tearing things down. It's about building better options and proving they work. The biggest threat isn't chaos or conflict. It's control that goes unexamined because it feels normal, almost like gravity. And the strongest defense isn't constant vigilance or anger. It's awareness. Seeing who benefits, recognizing that alternatives exist, and understanding that you don't need to destroy the system to move beyond it. Sometimes all it takes is walking around the gate instead of trying to break it. And once people see that, awareness spreads quickly. People tend to move through these stages in predictable ways. White turns into yellow when friction appears. Fees, restrictions, moments that don't sit right. Yellow turns into orange when information fills in the gaps, especially around incentives and conflicts of interest. Orange turns into red when people gain access to real tools, platforms, communities, and alternatives that make action possible. Progress happens when experience meets permission. Not everyone needs the same message at the same time. Validators help people move from white to yellow by simply acknowledging that something feels off. Educators guide people from yellow to orange by explaining how things work without overwhelming them. Builders take people from orange to red by creating alternatives and showing that they actually work. When the message doesn't match the stage, progress slows instead of speeding up. Most people will stay in condition white, and that's reality. The goal isn't to push everyone into red overnight. The real objective is to make yellow common. When enough people start asking questions, those questions become impossible to ignore. That's when real change starts to happen. If you're in white, the next step is simple. Start asking questions. If you're in orange, take the time to compare options thoughtfully. For agents, defending the existing system keeps you stuck in white. Moving toward red means intentionally building a practice that truly puts clients first, even when that challenges long-standing norms. Builders should design moments of friction that spark curiosity, explain without overwhelming, and provide tools that make action easy. Advocates should adjust their message to the audience. Avoid shaming people who aren't aware yet and focus on creating gentle on-ramps instead of ultimatums. Change sticks when people feel invited, not cornered. At its core, this framework is simple. Awareness is what breaks invisibility. The principles are clear. See the system, question the defaults, and prepare real alternatives. The outcome isn't revolution through force. It's steady evolution driven by understanding. The future won't be shaped by those trying to protect the old system. It will be built by the people creating something better. The invitation is straightforward. Embrace open access, share this framework, stay curious, and make a conscious choice to see what's been hidden. This has been Confidential Remarks.